We opted for some throwbacks on this episode, I see.
Yeah, we did. Yeah,
Yeah, I always find that type of stuff really interesting, where it's just like that really chill, but super ambient sort of sound with just like some sort of hip hop beat to give it a bit of like pulse.
Oh yeah,
it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, that song has everything. It has a hip hop beat, delicate vocals, Ennio Morricone style guitar, and the cherry on top, a theremin.
yeah, the theremin.
Well, I was just gonna say, I found this band when I was rereading our mixing class textbook. I was just sort of
nice
trying to brush up my knowledge on like EQ carving. And then I saw a little footnote that was talking about the British band Portishead uses equalization to create an otherworldly sound. And then I was just thinking, well, now I have to listen to that. So I put down that book, listened to this, and I haven't picked up the book since.
There are some surprisingly good examples in that book of just about everything that they mention, but that are all very musical too. It's not like, oh well, they did this, it's interesting. It's all like done in a very artistic way. But yeah, I really like that because it does sound very otherworldly. It sounds really ethereal, very just if the entire rest of that record is like that, I feel like this would be just like a great album to just like zone out to.
It's a great album to zone out to. It's a little intense too at parts. I mean, it never really gets sort of bombastic, but there's a lot of really restrained angst on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a dense album too. There are like 16 songs.
Yeah.
There's
11 songs, and it's a 49-minute album, so it's not super long, but yeah.
So there's another song on there that I really love that sounds like it could have been like an early Michael Jackson song, like when he was still a kid.
Oh, so like Jackson 5?
Yeah, like Jackson 5. The one I'm thinking of is called It Could Be Sweet.
Mm-hmm. I'll have to listen to that later. Yeah. Sounds kind of interesting.
Yeah. But the way you talked about the atmosphere of the album, like the way I sort of describe it is like interdimensional lounge music.
I always love when people have to choose very specific words to describe something. And so they choose something like that where it's like almost nobody would ever come up with that exact description of it. But I'm sure that it's, extremely accurate. But just the way that people's minds work when they need to describe abstract things.
Oh, yeah. And this is super abstract.
It's always very amusing.
Like, even now.
Yeah, it really is. Like, there's a lot of the time you'll have, like, older music from, like, the 80s or 90s or whatever. It was like experimental music at the time, but like by today's standards, it sounds pretty normal.
Oh yeah.
This still definitely sounds very abstract and very different from anything that anybody was doing at the time or recently.
Oh, definitely. And this is another band that I feel has sort of has sort of faded into obscurity a little bit.
Mm-hmm. It was something where like I saw it pop up and I was like, I've heard of that band before, but I don't think that I've ever actually listened to them.
Yeah, but they're sort of like Helmet in the sense that they were just hugely influential. Like, Deftones was highly influenced by them, and I think Bjork was to a degree too.
I can hear that now that you mention it, for sure. Just a lot of, very drone heavy type of stuff.
Absolutely.
I mean, this is probably early influence on drone music.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I don't know when it's commonly decided that like drone music began being a thing, but like
it's hard to trace. Like, I think it really depends on the definition of drone music, because I mean, you get into like drone metal, drone electronic, and then like I think there was a classical strain of drone music that emerged like maybe as early as the 40s or the 50s, like concurrently with minimalist music.
Yeah, I pulled up this Wikipedia page for drone music, and it says that most people would say that the origins of drone music, especially in like the classical and avant-garde style, started in like the mid 60s
Yeah.
with that sort of minimalist movement.
Mhm.
That's interesting, and and like I've mentioned a couple of times on various episodes, I do enjoy drawing, paths that connect, older stuff to newer stuff, and just seeing how far we've come with music. It's really insane to think about sometimes.
Yeah. And this, I don't know, this album sort of feels like it exists out of time. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if I heard something exactly like it come out today. Like, even with that sort of throwback record scratching sound, it it sounds just too clean.
No, I think that I agree with you on that, because it doesn't sound like anything that was like, the trends of the time in the mid 90s, and it doesn't really sound like anything that's like the trends of the time now. It just sounds like something that somebody was set out to make some sort of experimental music, and they came across this sound.
Absolutely.
Like, I don't think that anybody would ever consciously make this. I think that this is something that you have to just work on and develop without, I think, realizing what you're doing.
Yeah, and just sort of discover in real time.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like, just I want to throw this out there that this whole album is just astonishingly good from start to finish. So if anyone out there feels compelled to like explore more of this, like, I highly advise doing so. It's super rewarding.
All right. Yeah, I think that I will definitely check it out. This was a cool conversation, man. I'm glad that I was able to have you on again.
Yeah, thanks. I'm glad that I had a chance to do this again. I think we went down a couple of rabbit holes this time. We've been at it for like an hour and a half.
Yeah, exactly. This has been a good episode. Thanks for being on, man.
No problem. Anytime.
And thanks to everybody at home. This has been the Fresh Finds Podcast, the show about listening to new music with good people.